Hello folks and welcome to Tippcast with myself, Shane Stapleton. As always, the head of sport in the Nenagh Guardian, Shane Brophy, joins us. Shane, it's a very busy time in Tipperary GA at the moment. If there isn't hurling football, there's happening. Even last night, we had a very good match between Mullinahone and Kilcash. There was a couple of games that were, of course, put back because of the tragedy that happened down in the south of the county. And of course, we again extend all our sympathies down there. There's also a match on tonight, St. Mary's against Moyle Table 2. There's huge permutations with that. We're going to have Anthony Shelley on talking about Tipperary football. Hopefully the line is nice and clear and solid, and we can chat through that. But we might as well just start talking about Mullinahone against Kilsheal and Kilcash last night. One of those games, Mullinahone were in charge for most of the game. From the start of the second half onwards, they were surviving on frees, and Kilsheal and Kilcash took over. Mark Keogh got a nice goal. They got themselves in front. But ultimately, Mullinahone turned it around, and it means that Kilsheal and Kilcash, they're now going to have to face another game, 3 in the space of 7 days, because they have to play a preliminary quarter-final against Gahinerinky at the weekend. It's all go for them as well, because they're doing it in both codes.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, I give them huge credit last night. I think their level of performance last night was outstanding, considering like a lot of those guys played senior football only on Sunday afternoon, in the heat of Sunday afternoon against Airog and Carty, and to come around 50 hours later, I think, and play a game again, and they started off very slow. It did look like they had a bit of stiffness in their bodies early on. Like they fell, what was it, 4, 5, 6 points behind, but they came back well in the second half, got their noses in front, and I said to myself with 5 minutes to go, there's only going to be one winner here, and just a handling error under a high ball. Whether I think was it Martin Keogh, I think he only came on as a sub, whether he wasn't up to speed or did he lose it in the floodlights, just lost the high ball. Mullinahone nipped in and got the goal and finished like a train to win the game. But I thought it was a really, really good game. Again, we've been saying it all along in this chat. They're two of the best 3 teams in the competition, and I think we saw it wide last night. There's some quality performers on both sides. I know you'll point to some of the recognisable names, the Mark Keoghs and the Martin Gibbs for Kilsheal and Sean Kennelly, Joe Fogarty for Mullinahone. But there was there was a Sean Ryan at number 4 for Kilsheal, and left-handed hurler. I thought he was smashing a cornerback. Really good, used the ball excellently. I think both teams will have taken a knot from last night. I don't think Kilsheal will be too perturbed. I suppose they couldn't get too disappointed. They have to go out on Sunday. They're still in preliminary quarter final against Gahinerinky. They'll be strongly favoured to win that. But I suppose the other thing is that it's one of those games where you'd expect Kilsheal would have too much hurling, but it's an all-South affair that can be dour and that can be physical, and Skaheen will probably try and turn it into a bit of an arm wrestle. I know you probably wouldn't be too familiar with the two teams, but I know you were pleasantly surprised by the quality last night.
Yeah, I'd have seen Mullinahone a nice bit over the years. I wouldn't have seen too much of Kilsheal and Kilcash, and he finished out up 223 to 317, just to confirm the scoreline there. But there are a couple of those names that we all know from Kilsheal and Kilcash, I should say, especially Mark Keogh. I'd say Kieran Green, who played cornerback for Mullinahone, he was someone that was very impressed with. For Sean Kennelly, was one. What was it? Cathal Green, apologies. Yeah, but he really stood out for me. I thought Adam Hogan got on an awful lot of ball. Just Joe Fogarty, that was one of those performances, especially in the first 10 minutes or so. There was a period there where he got 3 points in the space of 2 minutes, and real kind of quick suddenness, change of direction, nice bit of speed, great striking. He seemed to be fairly peerless with the striking. And I couldn't help but think that if he keeps this up, given that we saw him a little bit under Liam Cahill in 2023, will he give himself an opportunity to see more game time next year? And obviously, it's the third tier Tipperary Championship, but still in all, you get a sign of a player that he's well able to move and well able to do it.
Yeah, no, I just feel he's, even when at under 20 level and under 21, he found, I think he found in the step up to inter-county, even at underage, it's steep. Like we see it at club level, it's intermediate, but he can take over a game. And I suppose it's just to take that mindset into senior, like that, just to try and bring that same sort of freedom and expression with you. Don't be fearing, maybe don't overthink maybe the next level. Just go out and try and do the same thing to a certain extent. Okay, there's certain things you won't get away with it at senior level, inter-county level, but some of the same elements you sort of still got to bring, and particularly like he's very, very good shooting from the wing. Like he doesn't shy away from taking on a shot.
No, not at all. Now, we'll talk a little bit more about that later on, but delighted to say now we've Anthony Shelley on the line to talk a bit of Tipperary football. Anthony, we were under pressure with the connection the last time. Hopefully it's working okay this time. How are you?
It seems to be better this time, yeah. I'm good.
Well, look, I suppose we want to jump straight into the football, and what we saw this past weekend resulted in Clonmel finishing the group. Kilsheelan are also through, but Drummond Inch and Éire Óg and Carty Dunhill lost out very narrowly, so it would have been quite frustrating for them.
Yeah, when you look at the quarterfinals, and we've had an exciting championship. It mightn't have been of the highest quality, but we've had an exciting championship so far. And going into last weekend, there were so many permutations that could have happened, and yet probably the 8 that we probably would have said at the start of the year have ended up in the quarterfinals. Not maybe the 8 I had actually a slight fancy for Arravale getting there, but they were done and dusted early. So Clonoulty I would have thought Clonoulty might have just lost out, but Éire Óg very, very, very unlucky. Seemed to put up a good show against Kilsheelan. Now, albeit Kilsheelan were, even by half time, they were down a good few players to what they started. But I was delighted to see Paul Maher. I'm a big fan of Paul Maher, but he's injury plagued, and I was delighted to see him start. But he was gone very early in the game. And
there was concern over that injury, and I don't know. Did we hear that there was the knee again? Was it?
I think so. Yeah. It was quad the last time that went with him, but I know, as we're saying, he seemed to be in awful pain going off. But I remember, I think it was up in Longford that he did the quad, and he was in savage pain that day as well. So it's obviously a very sore injury when it comes back. But he's such a good player, such a vital player for Kilsheelan. So hopefully he'll be back for the next round. But I suppose the experience with Paul over the last few years, he's a slow enough healer, so he will be under pressure to make it. Éire Óg, into relegation now, out of that group. Tough on them when they thought they were safe after beating Drum in the first round. But I wouldn't write them off in relegation. Wouldn't write them off. You can never write them off, but like with 3 out of 4 teams going down, that 75% of the teams in relegation are going to be relegated. They have it all up again. They have it all to do. As have we could be in a situation this time, in a few weeks' time, where there's no West team in senior football, and that would be, to me, that would be a shame. But it's a very live possibility.
Yeah, Shane, I mean, Kilsheelan and Kilcash 112-17 winners over Éire Óg and Carty. Barry Keogh with the goal for Kilsheelan, and Brian Fox with the goal on the other side for Éire Óg as well. How far can Kilsheelan go here, or how impressed have you been?
I think I don't know if they can win it. I think they can make things difficult. I think they got they've got stinkers of draws the last few years in knockouts. I think they've got a draw that they I think they've drawn Upperchurch, and while they'll be underdogs, I think it's probably probably one opponent that probably fancy their chances against out of the maybe Lockmore and Brackens might have been a step ahead, but I definitely think they'd fancy their chances against Upperchurch Man. So look, it's, I suppose from their point of view, like their level of performance against Commercials in round 1 was excellent. So they have a busy schedule at the moment, like that Hurling last night, they've Hurling then next Sunday, and from their point of view, I suppose they hope they have Hurling the following weekend. But I suppose concerning to hear maybe guys going off with hamstrings maybe on Sunday and things like that. So look, I suppose as long as they don't overdo things at training, it's all about maybe the lot more to just go from match to match at this stage. Don't overthink it. Hurling or football, just go out and play it. Because like they do have some big units of good athletes out there, like so. And No, I think I give them a good chance of getting to a semi-final, and just Commercials, like, geez, another dominant performance, 319-4. And I'm just wondering, Anthony, is it more reflection of the group they're in, or is it Commercials showing us something different with their scoring power? I think that's 9 goals in 3 games. Like, are they showing us something different this year?
There's a bit of both, I mean, you probably would have expected them at the start of the year to beat Aerogue and to beat Drum handy enough. Like, what's very impressive about Commercials, and a lot of teams don't do it, they seem to be able to keep the pedal to the metal. They'll have a big lead at half time and they'll double it. Whereas a lot of teams, ourselves included last week, we had a big lead at half time and the game was more or less over, but we were very, very scrappy in the second half and we came out and only scored 3 points. Commercials don't seem to have that problem. They go about their business very, very professionally. Sean O'Connor, but they lost Michael Quinlivan after 2 or 3 minutes last week, so he was gone. So Sean O'Connor put in a man of the match performance of 1-4, but it's the quality of the subs they're bringing on, like Peter McCarry, James Morris, Jamie Peters, Seamus Kennedy's brother Sean, who's a fine footballer, and Ty Condon, and under 20, Tip under 20. They were the 5 subs they brought in. Like, there are 5 definite starters in any other team in the county. So it's just they just go about do everything right, But the other side of that, just to go back to the Kilsheelan one against Church, they have a chance, but the injuries will be key to them, as you said, Sean. A few come off with hamstring injuries. We've already spoke about Paul Maher, but Barry Keogh was one of those to come off before half time as well.
I think he came on late last night in the hurling, so maybe it wasn't too bad. Like, so.
Yeah, it might have been just precautionary.
Yeah.
They had to win by 2 and they got their job done. Like that. Yeah. That'll be interesting. Yeah, but just in Commercials, just so professional about how to go do it. It's really hard to see beyond them at this stage.
Yeah, so like we'll talk about the quarterfinal draw now. I just mentioned that Lockmore and Ballina, they got through. Also Upper Church and Killinall and JK Brackens, of course, and Moyle Rovers. But we'll come to all those teams. But just the quarterfinal draw, we'll see Upper Church Drumban against Kilsheelan Kilcash, Brackens against Killinall, Commercials against Ballina, and Lockmore against Moyle Rovers. So Shane, what one jumps off the page for you?
Well, I suppose traditionally you say Lockmore, Moyle Rovers, but I'm fascinated by, I suppose, Commercials of Ballina, not just because of, I suppose, the northern bias, I suppose, of the paper, but just in terms of Ballina. And look, they're coming against the cream of the crop, and I thought Ballina actually last weekend, while they were beaten, I thought they played pretty well, even though they were down 3 key players. Like Tom Lee didn't play, Charlie King didn't play, and Stephen O'Brien didn't feature at all. It looked like he was. I was watching him coming across the field at half time. It looked like whether he took part in the warm up or whether he picked up something during the week. He was limping a bit, so whether he picked up an ankle injury or something during the week. But like if they're able to get those 3 players back and they're starting 15, I think Commercial will be a step too far. I think it was the worst draw Ballina could have gotten, but I'd be just fascinated to see Ballina at full strength. I think if Ballina were at full strength last Saturday, they would have beaten Lockmore. I just think they were just compromised a little, and look, they made some, I suppose, go back to that game, they made some, I suppose, mistakes that were cruel. Senior teams, top end teams like Lockmore were punished. Like a poor kick out by Jerry O'Brien straight to Brian McGrath, and he stuck it into an empty net. I think 8 of Lockmore's 113 came from frees. Like, some of their tackling was very poor in defence. It was overzealous tackling rather. The lads were just too eager. Like, they were maybe putting arms in and swinging arms in that didn't need to be done. Just hold guys out. But look, it was definitely a game that Ballina needed to learn. It was probably the first game against a real blue blood, and they'll learn so much from it.
Yeah, 113-3-5 when they're down all those players is no disgrace. The other game in the group, Ardfinnan 216, McCarthy Burris 1-5. But Anthony, any of the quarterfinals really jump out to you, or you like Shane Lockmore against Ballina as the one?
Lockmore against Ballina will be
Commercials.
Commercials against Ballina.
Sorry, Commercials for Ballina. Yeah, that'll be fascinating. Ballina are a big side, and traditionally they're the teams that Commercials sometimes struggle with. I thought. I know Ballina were missing 3, as you said. I think Steve guy went over on an ankle or something in the warm up, Shane.
Yeah, no, it looked like he was tugged out to come in, but I was looking at the start of coming across the field at halftime and said there's no way that lad will be coming on. Like, he couldn't put much weight on it. So,
and I don't know the extent of Tom King's injury or why he was missing. Tom Lee, yeah, and Tom will steady ship. Tom's a very good player, and even I was fascinated with their decision to leave off Charlie King. Now, I know he had an under-19 Hurling North final last night, but in their first real big game in senior football, that they were prepared to do that. And I thought, you know what, it shows a bit of club with ambition. They didn't just panic because it's Lockmore. They had bigger fish to fry. But in hurling and football, the under-19 last night, I know they lost it there to Tommy Vara on Monday night, but thought fair play to you. Trying to look after everyone, and it's probably the worst possible draw they could get. I just can't see them getting over commercials, but I think they'll give it a real good account of themselves.
And after what happened 2 years ago in the under-19 county final, that commercials will give them their full due. Like, they will not take them for granted under any circumstances.
And to be fair, even in that under-19, I think commercials did give them their full respect that year, because I would have known a few of the lads, and they were worried about that game going into it. And Ballina were fully deserving winners. So at least you have that to fall back, and they've already beaten commercials. Granted, at under-19, seniors is a different kettle of fish, but they have something to fall back on.
I mentioned it. I'd love to see O'Brien, if O'Brien and Lee can start, and King, like what Ballina could do at full strength. Like, I do think they would have won, I think, on Saturday if they were able to go at full tilt. But as I say, look, they did the right thing. The worst thing you can do is flog a young lad, you got to protect the guy. Like, he's 19 years of age or 18 years of age. Like, sure, you want him playing for another 20 years.
Yeah, but he's such a vital player to them as well. Like, fair play to them. They're going about their business right.
Yeah.
Group 3 then, Upperchurch Drumban 2-12, Arvale Rovers 2-11. So that was a narrow win there, puts Upperchurch through top. Killinall 1-15, Care 2-5. Group 4 then, Moyle Rovers 2-17, Ballyperrine 14, and Brackens 3-13, Rockwell Rovers 2-7. How impressive have JK Brackens been lately, Anthony?
Again, they haven't put in a performance for an hour. I would have said it here the last time, against my Rovers, they were poor in first half, exceptional in the second half. Very same against Ballyperrine. They were 7 points down against Ballyperrine with 20 minutes to go and come back and won by 3. And in the first half last Sunday, it was as good as I've seen them play in years. They were absolutely outstanding. Now, granted, it has to be said that Rockwell were very naive. They the amount of space they left in front of our full forward line to either kick it into or run it into. I know that Rockwell played a sweeper, but I don't know where he went, because every time they attacked, he came up as well. So they left no protection. And we were just turning them over, getting the ball to Dean McEnroe, and at least 3 or 4 times Dean ran 50 yards with the ball unchallenged, and that led to the goals or whatever. So, but we were very, very good in that first half. But at half time, we were scrubbed. We only scored 3 points in the second half after getting 3-10 in the first half to go to 3 points in the second half. On a beautiful day for football, there was no win, no nothing. There was no reason for it except that we got scrappy, and we will need to be a little bit more professional about how we go about our business if we're to be Killinall in the semi-final. But so far, you be giving us 7 or 8 out of 10 for our performances this year. But it's when we're good, we're very good, but when we're bad, we're very bad.
And Anthony, then about Paddy Cadell, I know we talked about him a bit lately, but he seems to have come back very well from the injury.
Yeah, he seems to come back as good as ever, if not better. He was flying. He was outstanding again last Sunday. He's the man. I've said this loads of times. He's the man that makes us tick, and he was absolutely outstanding again on Sunday.
Yeah, I think we were talking about it here last week after the hurling review. That it's remarkable for a lad that's so, he's still relatively young, but even probably 21 when he was captain, that he the team just hurling the football, it just clicks when he's there, but it looks very unsettled when he's not.
It just gives us that drive that we lack out there, around the middle, and in the hurling against Drum the week before, the centre back, sure, he must have pain in his shoulder from hitting ball. He just drove everything on. Like he's an exceptional young man. He's brilliant.
And actually, just while you mentioned the hurling there, is it a case now that JK Brackens are starting to get more and more of their strongest team together now, and it's a shame that the championship didn't start a few weeks later, and maybe he could be progressing rather than in relegation?
Yeah, we're getting to get more and more players back. Like Eamon McBride is back playing full games as well, which is a big addition to both the hurling and football. And obviously Paddy coming in there. I think he came in for a few minutes in the second game against Nenagh, but starting against Rome and then getting the 2 football games in. We're getting there. Relegation will be tough in the hurling, but we're certainly looking a lot healthier to get out of relegation than we did after the first 2 rounds of the championship. You'd say, there's a bit of hope there.
Shane, will I throw up your football power rankings?
Just before we move on to it, I suppose just to touch on my Rovers, like getting out of the relegation mire and ended up in second place, and I think they got Peter Atchison home for the weekend, and you worry, like it's great that my Rovers stay, or I suppose for them, but like they're a club I think just needs to settle down a small bit. Like they give a walkover on Saturday in the intermediate, or like having to fly a guy home who hasn't played for a while. Like it's like for a club that has a decent pick on the outskirts of Clonmel, they're just, I don't know, just something just not clicking at the moment down there. Like I know their junior hurling team is going well, but like I would have thought there's no Bayern Rover shouldn't be in junior hurling. At minimum, they should be in intermediate. So they're like, I don't think they'll beat Lockmore, but I think that there's definitely something they've got to try and reflect on going into next year. How do you maybe use this year as sort of a scare tactic to get the club moving again?
It just seems to me it was like I early in the week I fancied Ballyporeen to turn them over, but I wasn't aware that Peter Atchison was being flown back, and that kind of that changed it. But it is, I suppose, if you have access to that sort of an asset, you would, because they were certainly the reason I thought my Rovers turned them over. I thought they lacked a bit of drive in the middle of the field, and Atchison gives them that, just like Paddy Cadell gives it to us. Like he gives them that, and I know he's probably just keeping himself ticking over out there, but Peter he's just a naturally fit lad anyway. So he'll turn up and he'll do his job. It'll be interesting to see when they bring him for the Lockmore game. And he wasn't the only one. I think Ben Owens is travelling from London for that. I think the week before they brought Ryan Quigley from America. So it's you wonder for the long-term future of the club, like how it would be. Like, I mean, I certainly wouldn't like to be going fundraising down there, knocking on doors, and my young lad isn't getting the game because you're bringing lads from all over the world. Now, the other side of that is probably more so than any club I know, they are hemorrhaging players to emigration, and it's I wouldn't mind not fielding in the intermediate, in the sense that they were relegated anyway. And would have been a bit like ourselves and Lockmore, who were in that situation as well. And I think if you pick two teams up in electric picnic last weekend, you probably would have got better teams, stronger up in Stradbally than we did in Old Cross.
Don't mention electric picnic with Sheamus Stapleton here at the
moment. Is it like, so then beyond that at a Premier Intermediate level, Shane? Who's impressing you there?
Who's favourites at the moment? You can look past Grange Mokler, but sure, Grange Mokler's challenge will be semi-final, final. Will they get over the line? I suppose from their point of view, I suppose they will want Sarsfields and Mullinahone to go as far in the hurling as possible. It was like, I think if Sarsfields and Mullinahone get focused on football, I think they'll be hard to beat. It was like, I think that's been Grange Mokler's problem in the last few years. Drum and Ballina have got chance to focus on football, and that those two teams have proved that they're very good footballing teams. I think for the strength of senior football going forward and the grade, I think the quicker Grange Mochler get up, the better, because they will add to that senior championship and the level of underage talent. There's no doubt. But look, I think you'll have 4 good quarterfinals. Like Harlow Gales will be good. Galty Rovers big win over Sarsfields last weekend. So no, it's shaping up nicely. As I say, one going up. Like the year to get up is this year, because like you have one of Mycarky, Arravale, who else? Rockwell and there's another West Anacarty. You have 3 of those 4 coming down. Like so. So it's you don't want to be still in intermediate next year when you have that many teams.
What do you think, Anthony?
Yeah, I 100% agree. This is the year to get up, and like I fancy Grange Mochler herself. But the challenge for Grange Mochler, I think, is right. We all say they're young, and they are getting that every year. They're getting that bit older, but they're light, and that's when they come up against the likes of Thurles or Mullinahone, teams that are training for senior hurling. They have the strength and condition behind them. They're fit and exceptionally fit. And add in that they can all play a bit of ball. Now, granted, those sort of teams tend to put it through the hands and don't put it at risk. And because Grange Mochler are so light, they find it hard to go after it and win it back. On the ball, they're beautiful. On the ball, they're beautiful to watch. That's going to be their biggest challenge. They have Charlie McGeever in there this year, and that did probably benefit from his experience. But it's kind of shit to get off the pot for them now, like, because Shane said it's going to get harder for the next few years. Like, I mean, the 3 teams to go down there, one of them will be favourites to come up next year. So you could go from being favourites this year to, if you don't come up, you could be 4 favourites next year, and it just gets harder and harder.
Yeah, and it's always fun now to bring up Shane's power rankings. So it's his 3rd football power rankings in Tipperary of the year. So I'll bring them up on the screen, and to the right is the change that they've had from the previous week. So you can see commercials there. There's only a dash in the middle, so that means they're unchanged. Brackens +2, for example. Obviously, there's
so you started at the bottom. Arravale, bottom 3 losses from 3, but like I think they perform pretty well. Against Care and Upper Church the last 2 games. So like they'll probably take a bit of positivity into the relegation. Mycarky down 4 to 15. They're just struggling to score. I think I think that's their problem at the moment. So I think they're under pressure in relegation. Care down 2, lost by 7 points. Clonoulty. I thought that game would be an awful lot tighter. Like, so I'm disappointed with them. Drum down 5 to 13. That's a bit of a hammering. Even though Anacarty are in the relegation, it came to score difference. I have Anacarty head of Drum just from the fact that Anacarty won their head-to-head matchup. Rockwell down 4 to 12. I expected a little bit more from them against Brackens at the weekend. Didn't happen. Ballypreen down 4. I thought they'd play better against Moyle Rovers. Didn't happen. Ardfinnan up 4. Really good win over Mycarky, and like that was a tough group to win with Ballina and Lockmore. I think if you put Ardfinnan maybe in a different group, they might have snuck into a quarter final. Moyle Rovers up 7, got the win when they were needed. They're into the quarters. Kilsheelan up 3 to 7. Clonoulty up 4 to 6. Ballina dropped 3. I didn't drop them too far, just the fact that they were only lost by 2 points. Plus they weren't at full strength. Lockmore up 1. They won the game, but I don't think they were utterly convincing. Upper Church unchanged at 3, because look, their win over Arravale, that was a dead rubber game. Brackens up 2, 3 wins from 3, going along steadily, and Commercials number 1.
Right, have at him, Anthony.
No, for once, not,
hey.
I'm going to disagree too much with that. Brackens probably deserve to be in Commercials, obviously won. But Brackens, I think, in the basis 3 from 3, they have been impressive. Upper Church are 3 from 3 as well. They dropped 1 now. Upper Church are interested in who they have Kilsheelan in the next round. We spoke about that, but I think where Upper Church might struggle. I'm just a big fan of Jack Butler. I think he, lads talk about the things that Jack can't do, and there are a lot, but there's loads of things he does do, and he brings an energy and a drive to them. And granted, Upper Church have loads of that, but I think he's going to be a big loss for him. I believe he's gone to Abu Dhabi or something. Maybe they'll bring him home. Maybe the train from Dubai or the plane from Dubai in 2 weeks' time could be full of lads. But I just think he'd be a big loss, and that give Kilsheelan a squeak in that game. But I think, Shane, you got it more or less right there. Yeah.
Just before we finish up on football, who of the four do you think in relegation will survive?
God, you never write off.
I would have said that Garravale or Doon Oak, they can score.
Yeah, Arravale beginning the last 2 games. Right, granted they've lost it, but they've shown something now. In fairness, they were well behind at half time last Sunday against them. I possibly would go with them to survive. To survive, but them are Rockwell. Now they were very naive against us. Maybe they thought that Ballyporeen were going to win, and they needed to get scores against us to improve their score difference. But because they were always going to be in trouble if Moyle Rovers won. But do actually now thinking about it, I'll go with Rockwell. To survive.
Okay, well look, brilliant stuff, Anthony.
Cheers, Anthony.
Really appreciate you joining us, and we'll chat to you again.
Okay, thanks, lads.
Okay, great to have Anthony on there. So we were talking a little bit earlier about Moneygall against Kilsheelan and Kilcash, and I suppose, it's a tough one now for Kilsheelan and Kilcash to have to face Intiskeen or Inky three games in the space of 7 days. But the age profile looked, I was watching the game last night and I was like, they don't look like an old team, they don't look like a tired team. So look, maybe they'll be able to rouse themselves and get going again for the weekend.
Yeah, they looked like a team last night who, it was an important game, but they didn't look too disappointed at the final whistle. I think it was the same with Moneygall, because I think they knew that the year wasn't over last night. And look, I think both teams, I think Kilsheelan, as I said at the start, will be fancy to beat Skaheen or Inky, but so the only thing would be the fact that it's an interdivisional rivalry. It's lads would know each other to a certain extent, and maybe it could turn into a bit of an arm wrestle, which maybe would make it a little tighter. Look, Skaheen or Inky got to a county semi-final last year, so that these boys can hurl, and look, I'd still on hurling ability. I think Kilsheelan might have too much, but look, if they're, you just don't know where they're working on adrenaline last night after Sunday. Maybe they'll be stiff and sore maybe come Thursday, Friday, and if they can rouse themselves for Sunday, I think they'll win. But it's a dangerous one. They're favourites, but they could be very vulnerable. So Skaheen will be hoping to start that game very fast.
And they'll have to make sure that they keep the ball away from Mark Keogh, because that was one thing. Moneygall, they doubled up with was it Cahill or Kieran Green was the number 2 that was playing? Cahill Green. He was playing in front of Phil Fanning was picking up Keogh for a nice bit, and of course you're going to have to double up on him, especially at that level. Maybe at senior level, and the odd player below senior level might be able to keep with him. And of course he played Moneygall in the intermediate final last year as well, so you know all about them. But moving on to the match tonight between against St. Mary's. Are there any particular potential matchups? Or actually, first off, tell us about all the permutations here, because it's not simple.
No. I suppose the simple thing is, it's the Cashel have won the group. So what we have is St. Mary's are currently in second. So if they win, draw, or lose by 1 point tonight, they will qualify in second place. If Mine Temple Toohey to finish second, they need to win by 8 points. But I think their first target will be to win by 4. That would mean they would escape the relegation playoffs, and St. Mary's would fall into it. I think there's currently 8 points between them. So, of course, for every 1 point, Temple potentially would win by St. Mary's, drop a point. So, but then you have Ballina, who are sitting idle at the moment. They'll be cheering on Mine Temple Toohey, but they would need Mine to win by at least 2, but no more than 7, for them to get through. So it'd be good watching now tonight, to see. And the winner of this goes out on Sunday against Quarterfinal in the preliminary quarterfinal. So it'll be a fascinating one.
Yeah, and Mine Temple Toohey has some very good players there. I mean, Conor Bowe and Grode O'Connor are the ones that jump off the page straight away. But surely that's one of the teams that would be targeting really going up to senior level sooner rather than later.
I suppose possibly. I don't know if they wouldn't have a huge pick there, but they've definitely improved over the last couple of years. I suppose the fact that they didn't get to play football last weekend, they got a walkover. Then of course the weekend before the St. Mary's match postponed. They've got a chance to get Conor Bowe fit. I know he was carrying a leg after the loss to was it a football or hurling match? He got injured in. I'm not sure, and it gives Garrod O'Connor a chance to get up to speed. I'm sure maybe they would have got in a hurling challenge match maybe in the last week or so. So look, they will throw everything at this tonight. Like to say a 4-point win, you would put it on them with Conor Bowe and Garrod O'Connor and their teams, and Diarmuid Fogarty's well able to score as well. Jack Taylor, so. But on form, St. Mary's will be favourites. Some of the St. Mary's guys would have played football with commercials on Sunday, but look, they should be 72 hours. They should be ready to go. Like Sheamus Kennedy, it generally plays around midfield, half hour line. So I wouldn't. It all depends whether St. Mary's decide. Look, will we try and shut down Garrod O'Connor and maybe let Peter McGarry, Ross Peters, Sean Kennedy, will let them try and win the game for us. I suppose as long as St. Mary's just go out with the task of winning the game, don't get too focused on draw or maybe lose by a point. Just go out and try and get the win and get through and focus then on Sunday. It'll be fascinating if we get inside the last 10 minutes and maybe all three teams are still in hunt to get through.
Well, look, if we jump onto the preliminary quarterfinals this weekend, Thurles Sarsfields against Nenagh in Borrislee. Will you get your day pass to be allowed into Borrislee? Well,
I don't think I'll be there, unfortunately. We
wouldn't let you in anyway.
No, we've a challenge match with Laura scheduled in the afternoon, so we have to. Unfortunately, I'd love to be there. I'd definitely go and watching it Saturday. And I think I'm really looking forward to this one. There's so many people out there writing off Nenagh, and it says, lads, will you look back at the recent results between Thurles and Nenagh, and every time Thurles have been favourite, and every time Nenagh have generally won. 2020, Nenagh won the quarter-final 3-12 to 1-7. 2018, Nenagh won a semi-final. 2013, Nenagh won a knockout game in the Rag. I think the only time in that maybe the last 10 years Thurles won a semi-final or a quarter-final and they needed extra time to do it. There's definitely something in the way Nenagh definitely they have a way of playing, or maybe they have a way of playing against Thurles that unsettles Thurles. Look, there's a lot being said of Nenah's indiscipline against Mullinahone, 3 red cards to Tommy Heffern and Keane O'Farrell and so on. Ben West, they're not available. They didn't appeal any of those red cards. They're out. They are hopeful Jake Morris and Michael Heffern will be available on Saturday. I fully expect both to play. This is knockout hurling. You've got to go. You got to go full bore for this. And look, if it happens, you're probably looking at a duel between Ronan Maher and Jake Morris. You would think that Pádraig Maher is going to think, okay, whatever happens, we got to shut down Jake, and I think whoever wins that battle that'll determine the game. I think Nenagh have a great chance here. Just on their recent record against Thurles. Okay, Thurles poor form is, I suppose, is there to be broken against the team. And look, I don't know. I'm still waiting. I'm not convinced about Thurles yet. I think while they were good against Borrislee, I thought Borrislee were poor. So I think I'll get a better read off Thurles after the weekend. I think this will be very, very tight. Do
you know, when you talk about that game a couple of years ago, 3-12 to 1-7, my memory of that game is Jake Morris got a hat-trick very early in the game, and the game was absolutely done. For the rest of the game, then Nenagh took, Nenagh just, I don't know.
12 to 1-7 was very low scoring, so.
Yeah, I think Nenagh had most of that scoreline in the opening 20 minutes. And for the second half, they didn't do a whole pile. Then obviously didn't go on to win the championship. No. So was there an element of flattering to deceive early in that game? Didn't know how to deal with Jake Morris. Maybe they won't know how to deal with him again here. But did that scoreline and the manner of it sort of almost inflate the position that we kind of put them in at the time?
Maybe so, but like, I suppose that it's Nenah's. I suppose it's Nenah's probably it's been their way for as long as I remember hurling. Nenagh had the ability to beat anyone, but then they also have the ability to go out a week later, be flat as pancakes and lose a game like they did 2020. They were brilliant against Sarsfields, and then the week after against Lockmore, they were well beaten. Like so in the semi-finals. So look, this is one of those games where Nenagh are being written off by a lot of the county, and for the
Hard to understand that now.
Yeah, and then this is where they produce a big performance. Like, and look, they have to step up, and I think they will step up. Like, there's no doubt that Tommy Heffernan will be a big loss. It puts a lot of the scoring pressure on Jake, and like you're hoping for his sake after 7 weeks out that he's sharp. And look, he had a facial injury. That means he's been able to do an awful lot of ball work, I suspect, in the last 7 weeks. So he's ball work. He's probably just playing games. I'm not sure how much he's been able to play, maybe in-house training games for 10 or 15 minutes just to keep himself sharp. Like so, they'll need Conor Hennessy. Like Conor Hennessy has gone a bit quiet since the North Championship. They need him to have a big match. James Mackey, Sam O'Farrell, like Michael Heffernan. Like I still think Nenagh 15 for 15 will match Thurles player for player. It's just that Thurles' bench has been very impressive in the last few games. Shawnee Butler coming on, making an impact. Tommy Doyle coming on, making an impact. So, I wouldn't be surprised if extra time is needed here. Like you would think, I don't know. I just think there's something in that Nenagh had never feared. Even when Thurles were at their dominance selves in the middle of the last decade, Nenagh were the one team that always put it up to them, like, and generally were able to beat them as well. So,
well, can I put it to you like this, Shane? Like, the best forward in the county is Jake Morris. So we're going to assume that he's not going to be at his very, very best because he hasn't hurled in 7 weeks. But at the same time, he's still going to be very, very good, very potent. I would argue that they're the best half-back in the county in Barry Heffernan, even though maybe he hasn't been back all that long. You can argue the toss over.
He'll be at centre forward. He's not.
Will he be at centre forward though? Yeah. Because he was moved back to the half-back line in recent times. And if you're already bringing, like there he was against Mullinahone, but if you're already bringing back in Jake Morris, are you really going to move him up from his best position up there?
Well, I don't. I think.
Like if I was Ronan Barry,
I think he's not.
Much rather mark a converted forward or converted.
But he's not 100% after his injury. He's not finishing matches. He's still in a small bit of discomfort. Like so,
Well, is that not all?
I think if you're bringing back to the half back line, you're bringing back to wing back because I think Paddy Murphy has done pretty well at 6. So I don't think you change your centre back. Maybe you bring him back to half back, but then you'd probably drop in either. Well, I mean, you might end up moving James Mackey into the half forward line, which would give them a bit of legs and a bit of drive up there as well. Like if you're particularly without Tommy Heffernan, and of course Ben West, like is a big option off the bench, which they don't have now. Like so.
But Shane, like if a guy's only coming, and like I do believe he's arguably our best half back, and he can play other positions too. But like. And I agree with you. He's not fully right. So therefore, would you not put him in the position where he's most used to, which is somewhere in the half-back line, even if Paddy Murphy stays at 6? But like you're throwing a lad who isn't at 100% up to a position where he has played there before, sure. But like, I suppose Thurles would rather see him half forward than half back.
But he's played it practically every minute in the half forward line this year. Like so, I think Nenagh management have probably made their call for this year of where to see him because.
Am I not right in saying he was in the half-backs against Mullinahone?
I'll have to look at the match report, I say, but I don't like. And generally, all the other games I would have seen, he definitely wasn't in the half-back line anyway. He hasn't played very much in the half-back line this year, if at all. I'm just going to put up the match report here.
And then, like while you're looking that up, Mikey Heffernan, I think it was
he started a wing back against Mullinahone, so maybe it could be the fact that maybe they were missing a few guys and maybe wanted to but I couldn't be sure how well he played in that game, whether he was ready for maybe they were looking ahead to a knockout game, getting him back there. So look, maybe the fact they're playing Thurles, they might go for a bit more experience back in their half back line now. So it'll be fascinating to see what they decide at the weekend.
Yeah. So like anyway, so just circling back to that point then, like he's obviously an excellent player. Even if he's not at 100%, he's still very good. Jake Morris, the same. I'd argue the best forward in the county. Maybe you can argue the toss with others. Sam O'Farrell is, very good common player as well. You kind of mentioned Paddy Murphy there as well, very solid at 6. Like they have an awful lot of quality players. So if it clicks, like is that when we're going to see sort of maybe the odd bit of a pace issue in the Thurles team exposed? Like they have Connor Stakeland, they have Dara Stakeland. Both of them were very good against Borrisoleigh. They have Stephen Cahill, obviously he can pick off loads of scores around midfield. Like they have a lot of quality, but they have some bigger players as well that you'd argue you can run at.
This doesn't happen very, very often. Breaking news. We don't have a breaking news segment, but Sheamus Callanan has retired from senior intercounty hurling.
Right.
Just come in on email. So I'll just read it out here. After 16 years at Tipperary hurler, I've decided to announce my retirement from intercounty hurling. Playing for Tipperary has always been a huge privilege for me. I'm very grateful to have such an enjoyable career with so many great memories. The highlight of my career was undoubtedly captaining Tip to the All-Ireland success in 2019. Coming back to Tipperary and Drummond with the Liam McCarthy Cup is something I'll treasure forever. I've always been very grateful to Liam Sheedy for entrusting me with the role of captain. I wish to thank all the Tipperary players. I had the pleasure of calling my teammates in 2008. I made lifelong friends and feel honoured to have taken the pitch with some of the greatest hurlers who ever wore the Tip jersey. I'm also grateful to all the managers and backroom teams who gave me such support and guidance through the years. I've been fortunate to meet many great people during my time with hurling with Tipperary through the J, but Eamon O'Shea was special amongst them all. As a mentor and friend, his guidance was a significant impact on my career, and I want to thank him most sincerely. Special thank you to Tip County Board, Tip Supporters Club, Tip team sponsors, and the GPA have been very supportive. Wish to thank each and every Tip supporter. I'm proud to have been able to represent the blue and gold. My club Drummond who laid the foundations for my career. My sincerest thanks to you all. Representing our club in the intercounty stage has been something has always filled me with immense pride. I wouldn't be associated with a better group of people. I look forward to lying out with Drummond for many years to come. My parents, John and Mary, my sister Fiona, and my brother John, have been instrumental in the success of my hurling career. Their constant encouragement and guidance through the highs and lows have been so greatly appreciated, and there are no words to describe my gratitude to them. My fiancée Lauren has been another constant support through the highs and lows, and have made great sacrifices to enable me to give my full commitment to hurling. I want to thank her for all she has done and being able to share my many successes with her, and has made my time with Tip extra special. Finally, I want to wish Tip all the best for 2024. I have no doubt that players and management have the ability and commitment to bring more success to the county, and I look forward to being amongst the Tip supporters cheering them on. And just a reflection from Liam Cahill. I've been privileged to have known Sheamus and managed Sheamus for only a short period of time. Sheamus leaves us with countless memorable moments and a legacy that will inspire future generations of young hurlers, not just in Tipperary, but across Ireland. He owes nothing to Tipperary, and I wish him the very best in the future. So, not unexpected, but was an end of an era nonetheless. I suppose what a career, and I suppose the last couple of days we had the anniversary of the 2016 All-Ireland win on Monday. We had the anniversary of yesterday. I can't remember the 2016 win was when he devoured Jory Holden for 9 points to play. I suppose that was probably Shamey's. I think that was his tour de force performance, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, you could also go to that game against Galway in 2015 when he got the DDT from
3-9, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he was unbelievable that
3-6, sorry.
And to be honest, didn't he get 3-8 against Galway in 2014 as well? To be fair, he is underappreciated in terms of some of the best hurlers of all time. You look at the scoring that he's done, 40 championship goals, all of them from open play. And you can talk about all the brilliant players that we've seen in the last number of years. And, you could talk about Joe Canning, TJ Reid, Henry Shefflin, all these players. And he's right there in their company because none of them, and Patrick Horgan as well, they're all unbelievable players and deserve to be in the conversations with the greats. But in terms of modern greats, nobody comes even close to the amount of goals that he's scored from championship open play. And not only that, you know, unlike some of the other players that we've mentioned there that are playing against weaker teams in Leinster, he's doing that against the big teams all the time. Like we're talking there, like 8 championship goals from play in the 2019 season.
Every game, he scored a goal.
Every single game. So I can't get my head around the fact that he isn't always mentioned when they talk about the absolute greats, particularly of the modern game. We can't talk about Christy Ring and whoever. We didn't see them. But like he's right up there. Like he's as good as that we've ever seen in modern times in terms of hurling forwards.
Oh, look, he just had it everything. He finishing ability, size, stature, and I just was ranting on that statement. The way he particularly thanked Eamon O'Shea. There's not go through the timeline of Sheamus Callanan had 2 eras. The 2008 to 2013, he did bits and pieces for Tip, but from 2014 onwards, he was so consistent. And what happened in 2014, Eamon O'Shea particularly, we had 2013 into 20, Eamon O'Shea came back.
Didn't start him in 2013 against Kilkenny down at Nolan Park, interestingly enough. And then the next year makes him my marquee forward.
But I remember in 2014, I think Eamon probably came back, and then in his second year, Morris decided he's my man. He gave him the free taking duties straight away. I know Kieran McGeeney, one of the main positives of Kieran McGeeney's time with Tip as a performance analysis was he toughened the mind of Sheamus Callanan and just got him focused. And look, we saw that every time he went out after that, he was just absolutely lethal and just made it look. When he got a ball in his hand at his peak, like it was either over the bar or it was in the back of the net. I remember the 2 goals, top corner shots, like they were absolutely brilliant. Like he was just that. I think that 2014 year, he really took that championship by the scruff, and it was the only thing that was missing from Shamey's career was how he wasn't hurler of the year in 2016. Like that was crazy. Like he was hurler of the year. Like.
Yeah, that was the split forward. Yeah, he scored 950 in that championship, and 916 of that came from play.
9 points from playing an All-Ireland final, like.
Yeah, and I mean, people often look back and say, why did Brian Cody change nothing that day? But anyway, and then 818, 817 of that from play in the 2019 season. The only place ball he scored that year was the very last point against Kilkenny, which was a free more or less on the Hill 16. And what a lovely way to be able to finish it up. But like, remember the early days, was it against Clare that he scored that first goal, just thrilling run from the half forward? Yeah, from the half forward line to 2009 All-Ireland, a couple of shoulders into the chest. Obviously didn't stand him that day. Could have scored a goal.
Big impact off the bench in the 2020 final or 2010 final. Did he get 2 points in play after coming on? He definitely got 1 anyway. And he made, then he went, I think he got the 2 points in play, but I always think one of his big plays that day was chasing, I'm not sure it was a Tommy Walsh back, and he turned him over and he absolutely laced an 80-yard clearance down the field. It went to nobody in particular, but it just showed like when he was focused, like there was nobody better, because he was a giant. Like he's an absolute unit of a man. It was 6'5". Like he had definitely. It took him a few years, I think, to appreciate the physical and tools he had at his disposal. But like from 2014 onwards, he was at his best. Look, I think there's no doubt with the last couple of years you could see a bit of decline in him. But look, we won't. I don't think people will dwell too much. And like he had terrible back problems in the last few, particularly in 2018, 2019, and he was able to turn himself around and become the dominant player he was, particularly in 2019.
Yeah, and if you look at the players who've scored the most goals in championship history, Nicky Rackard has 59. Now, I'm pretty sure in the 1940s he scored 7 goals against Antrim in an All-Ireland semi-final or something like that. Very hard to really comment too much on that record, but, it's still outstanding. Tony Doran on 40, Callanan on 40. After that, you've got Eddie Kerr on 35, Christy Ring, 33, DJ Carey, 33. I mean, Callanan's on 40, so he's joined second in that list. And all the other players that we've kind of mentioned after that, people would sort of like, with a little dismissive, the hand wouldn't be putting Callanan in that bracket. But like, I really think that at some stage, people have to reconsider how good this lad actually was. Like Richie Hogan has obviously gotten lots of plaudits this week since he retired, and rightly so.
Yeah.
And I had it out kind of a little bit with John Fogarty, journalist. He was saying the best player 2014 to 16 was Richie Hogan, and I came in with those stats for Callanan, like 16 goals in the space of those 3 seasons, nominated for Hurler of the Year each time. Hogan did win one of those. Callanan should have. And, you know, to me, without question, during that period, he was the number one scorer in the country, because you just can't buy goal scorers. And like we've mentioned the company he's in, like it's far exceeds anyone else. Like, and those players I've named there as well, they were scoring goals from frees. His were all from play.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that one of the things for me is that the way his career developed, like I would have said in the early, you know, you always know early on looking at a young player coming through, has he leadership material? Has he a quality to ever become a captain? And like I thought, like I think it said it all when Liam Sheedy came back and he immediately gave Sheamus Callanan the captaincy in 2019 and got the ultimate honour of going up the steps of the Hogan stand to lift the Liam McCarthy. Like, look, that'll be forever I suppose his greatest moment. And I just showed, I think that was the high point of a player who, look, we always remember that those two great minor teams in 6 and 7, like Shamey was on the 06 panel, but he couldn't get on the starting team. Like he had always had the talent, but he always had to fight and always had to, like he was always chasing something. He was never the finished article coming through. Maybe unlike the likes of Nolan McGrath, Pádraig Maher, Brendan Maher, he had to constantly work at his game. And look, we saw between 2014 and maybe 2021 how good his game was really at its peak.
And fair play to him then for, you know, getting back this year again and even getting that goal against Offaly as well. Just, you know, nice to round it up to 40 championship goals. Donal O'Donoghue says here, fantastic career and always had time for all the supporters, especially the next generation. Wishing Shamey the very best. So hopefully he'll be able to play on for a few years with Drummond Inch, and the injuries will start to tone down a small bit. But
interesting to see now, like if sometimes you see these retirement announcements, whether are they usually come in groups. Like, is this Shamey doing it off his own bat, or is Liam Cahill already starting the process for next year? Maybe saying, lads, if some of you, I'm not keeping you, but if you want to make your announcements now, make them, and we'll get them out of the way. Do you know, that has tended to be the way in Tip. They their few retirements come pretty quickly, like, and that there's a sense that Liam Cahill is making his plans ready for next year. Nobody wants to be seen to be dropping Sheamus Callanan. I mean, maybe this is Sheamus doing it of his own bat, and I would think that's probably it. But it'll be interesting to see if any more come over the next couple of days.
Yeah, and in terms of the generation of 2010, there's not many left now. I suppose your own player there in Laura, Bonner Maher and Noel McGrath as well.
Yeah, I mean, those the last two, I think, now, isn't it?
Yeah, those are the last two now as well. So it really is, you know, I mean, for like, wasn't it gas 2010, then up to 2014 or whatever, there was a huge amount of survivors, and obviously a lot of time has passed in the meantime. Yeah. But that was such a highly celebrated All-Ireland, such an iconic one that there's definitely a passing of the baton now, and it really will be a new Tipperary team.
Yeah.
You know, Liam Cahill will have changed the team around nicely now by the time next year comes around. Will we go back to the We'll go back to what we were talking about, which of course was the.
Yeah. What are you leaning for, Nenagh and Thurles? Like people might say, look, I'm living in Nenagh, I know Nenagh well. That's fine. Nenagh are such a conundrum. Like from one day to the next, you can't. You just don't know what you're going to get. You could get a good Nenagh Saturday, or you could get the poor. You could get the Nenagh that beat Thurles regularly, or you could get the Nenagh that lose to Mullinahone. You just won't know till Saturday.
Yeah, well, it's in Borrislee as well, and it's definitely not the same size of a pitch as Thurles. So if it was in Semple Stadium, and like it's hard to know who would you favour in Semple Stadium, because Jake Morris had obviously loved the wide open expanses of Semple, but that'll definitely play a factor as well. It'll feel that bit tighter. The hill is very noticeable when you're playing on that pitch also.
The big crowd, I think it's the perfect venue for I think you'll get a cracking atmosphere on Saturday.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'll go down home to watch it and all. But I'm kind of torn a little bit. I think Paddy Creedon could have a big day as well. He got a goal against Borrislee, but I wouldn't have said that he set the world alight. Ronan Maher could end up with a few scores from 100 yards here as well. Like I said, you notice the difference with that hill. Something that, Brian O'Mara was all over the ball there last week playing for Holy Cross. I'm leaning towards Nenagh, but I'm kind of swaying left and right. What about you?
I've gone with Nenagh. I don't know. Yeah, I always think a club's poor run against a team will come to an end, and maybe it's Thurles' time. And look, they have the quality and the skill, the hurlers to do it. Just so something tells me that Nenagh are being written off by a lot of people, and this is when they maybe will produce a big performance.
And wasn't Mikey Heffernan hit 1-5 against Drummond recently? If he comes back with that, yeah. So if he comes back,
I know he's a grind problem and didn't play against Mullinahone, but yeah, you have to think they're going to strap him up and get him out there, and that Jake will be got out there like that. Look, they have to go for this. If they're playing somebody else, maybe you'd take a risk, or you'd maybe sit him on the bench, but not now with Sarsfields.
Yeah. Now, to be fair, I am kind of assuming that those lads will be fit and ready to go when I'm making that prediction in Nenagh, but it is somewhat tentative all the same. Mullinahone against Clonoulty Rossmore in the other quarterfinal as well. Some people were thinking if Mullinahone can survive at senior level this year, they'll be doing well, but they're doing an awful lot better than that. Clonoulty, against Burrisley, should have won that game, had it all sorted. And from then on, it just hasn't been all that impressive.
No, this is a fascinating one for me because, Mullinahone they have 2 wins from 3, their momentum, they're going well. But then I think Clonoulty were in a tough group. So if you put Clonoulty in another group, how would they have gone? So I think that's the interesting, that's the thing I was trying to measure up before I picked a winner. And I eventually gone for Clonoulty. I think I've just gone for maybe a small bit more experience. And Conor Hammersley's got an extra couple of weeks training in his legs. So there's no doubt scoring from play has been Clonoulty's issue, plus the fact that it's really struggled to score goals. I don't think they scored a goal in their 3. They might score maybe 1 goal in their 3 group games. Did they even score a goal against Sarsfields that night? So, when you're converting maybe the likes of Robert Doyle and Danny Slattery. Danny Slattery's played in the forward previously, but you can see they're short on goals, and maybe Mullinahone. It's an interesting contrast in styles here. It's like they're Clonoulty, a big physical side. They like to move the ball quick, whereas Mullinahone, very, very good in possession, move the ball through the hands like they do with football as well. But they have the likes of Mikey O'Shea have been playing excellently in corner forward. I think he'll be the key. I think if he has another big game, I think Mullinahone will win. Be interesting to see now if Conor Whelan plays on Sunday, because he had an appendix removed a couple of weeks ago. I know Jody Harkin for Bursley had the same, but playing in goals after having her appendix removed and playing outfield are 2 different things. So I'm not sure. I know my appendix taken out when I was young, and it took a while. I'm not sure whether medicine had moved on advance where he could have it taken out and be back playing in a few weeks.
I had it out before as well, and I got it out through keyhole surgery, so it wasn't all that invasive. And I played soccer and goals a couple of weeks after, and it wasn't that comfortable. So, it would be a fair job to go and play in the half back line in a preliminary quarterfinal in Tipperary a couple of weeks on. It just depends on how he's healed up.
I've just edged Clonoulty on just maybe on pedigree of the last few years, but it's not a confident pick now. It's a great chance for Mullinahone to get through to a quarter final, and look, if they win, it wouldn't be at all surprise. It's an unconvincing nod for Clonoulty. I think that's what I've gone just on. Maybe they're battle hardened after being in a tough group. I sort of leaning towards that, even though the defeats could have taken a bit out of them, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, Jack Ryan wasn't overly impressive against Kildangan, but he had been
an ankle trouble after Thurles, so maybe an extra few weeks will have done something for him.
Maybe he'll have come right. I thought Conor Hammersley didn't start brilliantly in the game, but I thought that he really came into it against Kildangan, so maybe he'll be that bit sharper again. So I'd suppose, like yourself, I'd see this one coming all the way down the stretch. But I'd probably be leaning slightly towards Mullinahone here. I think they'll get great confidence from that win over Nenagh. Fair enough, Nenagh knew that they had a safety net of preliminary quarterfinal, but I just about nod towards them. Anything else that you're looking forward to before we talk about
I suppose the thing is what all will know. I think Sunday around 6 o'clock is when all the quarter-final draws are going to be made for the following weekend. Like that quarter-final weekend is always brilliant. Like, you're probably looking at 2 double headers in the stadium, even though I'd be leaning towards taking the senior quarter-finals out of the stadium and maybe 2 double headers, maybe in a regional location, just better atmosphere, better crowd. But generally, quarter-finals go to the stadium. You have Premier, Intermediate. So it's, these next 2 weekends in hurling are going to be fantastic. Like, there's and like, it looks like that the weather has turned in our favour. It'd be great now if we got the next maybe 6 weeks up to a county final with an Indian summer, and like, we're definitely due it anyway.
Yeah, we most certainly are. So then the Camogie as well. I just go through the results there from the weekend and let you comment on it. Silvermines 111, Burgess Tahara 116, Thurles Sarsfields 215, Drum and Inch 316, so 4-point win there for Drum. Cashel King Cormac's and Knockavilla Kickham's postponed. Airog and Carty 11 points, Clonoulty 1-8. So that was a draw. In the intermediate then as well, Newport Ballynahinch 222, Killerwan 4 points. Care 1-8, Tumivara 116, and Moneygall 114, Borlahan Douala 111. So what's jumping out at you there?
Yeah, I suppose look, the senior Camogie have 2 groups of 5, with the top 4 in each group go to quarterfinals. So look, a lot of it is about seeding. I think Group 1 is effectively done. Like, you have Nenagh are struggling, so they're probably not going to finish bottom, and you're probably looking at maybe Drum and Inch finishing top and Duhara, Sarsfields and Silvermines qualifying. Like, that's been a very competitive group now. Like, that's been really, really tight. So it's Group 2, Bursley 2 from 2. Like, there, I think Bursley's match with Clonoulty next Sunday, like, I think that'll be a fair test of where Bursley are at after coming back from intermediate. And Carty, and they're Bursley, Clonoulty and Carty, they're going to qualify. And I think that the match between Kickham's and Cashel King Cormac's will probably decide who goes through as well. And like that's a very, very even group. You're going to have one team probably finishing bottom and going into a relegation final against Nenagh, who won't feel they should be there. Like, so like, there's probably at senior level in Tip, you have 9 very, very even clubs, I would think, and maybe Nenagh probably struggling a bit, and probably Nenagh probably could do with a stint back in intermediate. They're just a bit off the pace at the moment. So that group stage of the Camogie is bubbling up nicely at the moment.
Yeah, it's a big weekend coming in all codes really in Tipperary. So
yeah.
And also the Nenagh Guardian is in shops locally now as well, so get all your previews and all your reaction from last weekend there. Anything else before we finish up, Shane?
Yeah, I suppose, just I suppose good to see we could do hot off the press or live breaking news. Well, maybe I have to get a breaking news banner in case something happens next week. Like, so.
Do you know what? I had this one before, but that was for our game. So I didn't think it would be appropriate to throw up in our game one there. But maybe we'll get in.
Just from a local paper's point of view, it would be nice maybe to have that press release yesterday morning. But I suppose these things happen when they happen. Like, so, and I suppose just wish Shamey all the best. I'm sure he'll have a big say in the club championship for Drum and Inch. And so thanks for the memories.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, that's it from the show. We'll be back again next week.